Lord have mercy. Is COVID ever going to leave us? Somebody help me out because now we got the Omicron variant. We need to get used to COVID because it's never going away. It's going to be like the flu. You're just going to have to deal with it. Now, the crazy part about this, President Joe Biden issued a travel ban on 8 African countries. Donald Trump issued an African ban of 3 African countries. Here's what Biden said about when Trump put a ban on 3 African countries. He said Trump further diminished in the U.S. in the eyes of the world by expanding his travel ban. This new Africa ban is designed to make it harder for black and brown people to immigrate to the United States. All right, family, welcome to Studio B. I am your host, Pastor MDH. Thank you again for joining us here on the set of Studio B. We are so appreciative of your viewership and your followership. Thank you for all of those who tune in every single week to our podcast. Hopefully you are gleaning and learning and are better off once you listen to Studio B. So we greatly appreciate that. Thank you so very much. And remember, wherever you are watching from, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, like, follow, subscribe, share. Make sure that you comment as well, good, bad, and the ugly. Put it right there in the comment box. We can handle all comments, praising and criticism. So we invite you to do that. And again, I'm going to put this at the front of the podcast as I normally put it at the back. But PastorMDH@StudioB.com is my personal email. If you feel like you have anything to contribute to the podcast and you want to be a guest here on the set of Studio B, give me a buzz via email and I will respond back to you ASAP. So that invitation is out there for any and all to go ahead and take advantage of. And starting at the beginning of 2022, we're going to be incorporating some Zoom calls from different guests all around the world. I think we've kind of got it figured out. And so we're going to have some international guests here on the set of Studio B starting in 2022. So thank you, everybody, for joining us on the set of Studio B. We greatly appreciate it. Man, I got a lot of stuff. So we're coming up on the end of the year. 2021 is quickly coming to a close. We got a special show for you week after next. My lovely wife is going to join me here on the set. My lovely wife, my rib, Miss Jamie Holman, is going to join us here on the set week after next. And we're going to do a wrap-up show and kind of talk about a lot of different things in regards to family, faith, and just being thankful. This has been a good year. It's been a very busy year, but it has been a very good year. But today, I want to follow up on a couple of things that we did last week. I'm going to start this off by saying that as some of the things that I say can somewhat be viewed as controversial to the culture that we're living in. It kind of goes antithetical to the narrative that is being played. I try my best to be as objective as I possibly can. And by objective, I mean looking at the facts. We all get into the point to where we are sometimes overridden by our emotions. And so we're sometimes so emotionally attached to something that it's hard to make an objective judgment because we're so closely involved with it. And I believe that a lot of things that are happening in our world are playing off of our emotions because we are highly emotional creatures. God has given us emotions. Emotions are beneficial for us. But emotions can sometimes, if they're not checked, lead us into an area that wouldn't be beneficial for us. So when I try to make decisions, I'm a very linear thinker. I think about what I need to think about in order to make the best decision possible. Now, it doesn't always work. I'm human just like everybody else, so I have my flaws and all. But what I try to do to the best of my ability is make critical decisions based on information that is available. Take a step back and make a critical decision with the information that I have available. I've tried to do that through my adult years. Again, the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs. It doesn't always work, but I try to do that more often than not. And so that's also one of the things that I try to push, not try to push, but I try to help people to understand that critical decision making must involve facts over feelings, because your feelings are subject to change. You could be up one moment, down the next, all right? Your feelings are all over the place. It's an emotional roller coaster. Well, when you're making critical decisions, it is important that you make those critical decisions with the best facts that you have available. With the best facts that you have available. And I understand that we're living in a world that don't necessarily appreciate truth and facts. However, facts are still relevant. And so this week, last week, the week before last, have been something that I have been talking about on this set for a very long time. And I want to put them in perspective for you, because this is something that I have said, oftentimes have gotten some pushback, while I always have to qualify myself about the area and the culture that we're living in. But these last couple of weeks is indicative of what I have been talking about for so long. I try my best to make sure that before I come before you, the audience, mainly before God, and espouse my particular opinions, I try to make sure that those opinions are at least rooted in some facts, and they're facts that nobody can deny. Now, you might disagree with the opinion or the stance, but the facts you can't deny, because the facts are just the facts. We just had the conviction in the Ahmaud Arbery case. And in the Ahmaud Arbery case, I want to kind of break this down for you, because this is a very, very important case. And this is the Ahmaud Arbery case is one of these things by which I say, that's why you can't group everything into one pot. That's why you got to be able to look at the individual cases on an individual basis, because no two cases are alike. The Ahmaud Arbery case is one of these such cases. We just got the guilty verdict of all three men involved in the Ahmaud Arbery case. And we're going to talk about this in detail, because I think it's important that you understand the facts of the case. And it's going to re-emphasize what I've talked about. So Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Rody Bryan Jr. were all charged with malice and felony murder. So Gregory McMichael is the one that actually pulled the trigger. He's the son. He's the one that actually killed Ahmaud Arbery. The father, Travis McMichael, was in the bed of the truck riding behind. Gregory McMichael got convicted on all 8 counts of murder, felony murder, malice with felony murder. He got convicted on all 8 counts. He was the only one, and I watched this trial every single day. He was the only defendant that took the took the stand, which he did to his detriment, because the prosecutor, get to her in a little bit, she ate him alive, and she did an excellent job on bringing out the facts of this case. But Gregory McMichael is the one that actually pulled the trigger on Ahmaud Arbery. Travis McMichael was his father, and then Rody Bryan, or William Rody Bryan, was a young man that videotaped the entire incident. Gregory McMichael got charged with 8 counts. Travis McMichael and William Rody got charged with 4 counts. There's a high likelihood that Gregory McMichael will spend the rest of his living days in a prison cell, which they've already been in prison. Travis McMichael will probably get anywhere between 15 to 20 years. He's already 60 plus years old, so he'll more than likely die in prison. William Rody, who got convicted on 4 felony counts with malice of murder, will probably get anywhere between 15 to 25. Him being all of 50, there's a high likelihood that he himself might die in prison. Now, his lawyer has already said to William Rody that he's going to appeal the guilty verdict of William Rody to get him a lesser sentence. This is the guy that actually recorded the death of Ahmaud Arbery. And as the prosecutors laid out a very exquisite case, watching the video of Ahmaud Arbery being gunned down was very difficult. This particular case, from the beginning to the end, I believe the prosecution led a very, very admirable case to say that race played a significant part in the shooting and killing of Ahmaud Arbery, the prosecutors. But here's what I want you to see. In Georgia, 3 white men got convicted of felony murder by a jury of 12, 11 of them being white, with 1 black person in Georgia. When it was not so long ago, late 40s, early 50s, last lynching being in 1968 in Georgia, where literally black men were hung from trees for sport. And here you are, 2021, where you had a court system in Georgia. Now, if you know anything about civil rights and the history of civil rights, Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama were the hotbeds of the civil rights movement. Georgia was a racist state from beginning to end. And here you have, in 2021, 3 Anglo men, 3 Caucasians, all white men, got convicted by 11 white people and 1 other black person for the murder of a black man. They got held accountable for a heinous crime that they committed against a black man in Georgia, not in New York. The North was different. I'm talking about in the deep South, at the bed and at the crux of racism in the deep South. In Atlanta, no doubt, they got held accountable for murdering a black man. Now, I want you to hear what Linda Danowski said. This is the lead prosecutor, the senior prosecutor for the state of Georgia. She said, "I was hopeful, based on the evidence that we presented in this case, that we would put forth that the jury would see the truth of what actually took place and bring justice for the Arbery family. After we picked the jury, we looked at them and realized that we had a very, very smart, a very intelligent, and very honest jurors who were going to do their job to seek the truth first. And so we felt like putting up our case, it doesn't matter whether they were black or white, that putting up our case before this jury, that they would hear the truth and that they would see the evidence and that they would do the right thing and come back with the correct verdict, which is what they did today." That's what the lead prosecutor, Linda Danowski, said in the Ahmaud Arbery case. She said, "This is just simply a matter of facts, that if you look at the facts, no matter if you're black or white, you're able to come to a logical conclusion of guilt in this particular case." That's what she said. And what an appropriate statement for that. So you got 11 Anglos, Caucasians, and 1 black person sitting on a jury of 3 white men being held in judgment for killing a black man. If the optics are the optics, if white privilege is white privilege, then all 3 of those white men should have walked. Because all it would have took was 1 black person to be a hung jury and for a mistrial to happen. But here it is. Linda Danowski said, you know what? We're going to put the best jury that are smart, intelligent, and honest, and able to look and listen to the facts of the case and make a reasonable decision based on the facts, not emotionalism, but the facts of the case. And that's exactly what happened. They looked at the evidence of what the prosecutor laid forth. They looked at the evidence of what the defense tried to argue, and they came to a reasonable conclusion that these 3 men were guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. That the self-defense argument in this particular case did not hold water, and that it was murder from the front to the back. Okay, Ahmaud Arbery did not present any weapons. As a matter of fact, in the trial, it was revealed that Ahmaud Arbery had no conversation with Gregory McMichael at all. Ahmaud Arbery was running away while Gregory McMichael and Travis McMichael were in the truck chasing him down. So nobody is a threat to you when their back is to you, running away from you. So the idea that Gregory McMichael acted in self-defense when Ahmaud Arbery is running away and you're running after him didn't hold water. And any logical person upon hearing the facts of the case would come to the same conclusion. So when we talk about this kind of stuff that's going on, it is important that we who value truth and are able to weed through all of the stuff that gets put on top of truth in order to drown it out. You have to be so diligent, especially in our current culture today, to do your due diligence to find out what the truth is. Not what the narrative is, but what the truth is. Ahmaud Arbery's father, upon the conviction, upon the proclamation of the guilty verdict, came outside and did a press conference. And here's what Ahmaud Arbery's father said. Here's what Ahmaud Arbery's father said. All lives matter. This is the father of the man that was just murdered by these 3 white men. He said, all lives matter. He said, because no parent wants to get the call that their child has been murdered. This is what the father of Ahmaud Arbery said. The mother of Ahmaud Arbery, which is a fantastic woman, her demeanor and her the way she has kept herself, the way that she's conducted all of these press conferences afterwards, it's obvious that she is connected with God in a very, very deep way. But I have been super, super impressed with how she has handled all of this stuff coming her way. She is to be commended. She is to be commended. But when I say that we have to look at cases in an individual basis, and you can't find a racist up under every rock and around every corner, while there are people that do things, in this case, because of people's color, there are also things that have nothing to do with color. I take that back to the Kyle Rittenhouse case. And I say that that is systematic racism with Kyle Rittenhouse. A white man that shot 3 other white men, that was prosecuted by a white man, defended by a white man, judged by a white man with an all-white jury. That is systematic racism at its best. Well, how does one have anything to do with the other? The Ahmaud Arbery case was clearly racist. And that case clearly got put before people who could realize and disseminate truth and be able to come back with a verdict that was in right or in step with the facts that were presented. And I'm going to keep on telling you something. Facts matter. Your opinion doesn't. Your feelings don't. But facts actually still matter. I realize that the world in which we're living in right now does not hold to facts because facts are inconvenient. Truth is so. When I was looking at the scriptures a couple of days ago in my quiet time, I brought this up on the podcast before, but it was, God through the Holy Spirit brought it back to my attention about when Pilate asked Jesus, what is truth? Like, what is it? Like, man, I'm a politician. I don't deal with truth. I deal with who got the most money, who can do the most for me, who can scratch my back so that I can scratch his, right? Pilate asked Jesus, what is truth? And in John 14:6, Jesus says, I am the truth. There is truth. I understand that the lines are being blurred in every single area of life nowadays. I get it, man. I get it. I had a young man on last night that come up to me and said, after the men's night, he said, man, I look forward to Mondays at 9:00 when Studio B comes on because I get a fresh perspective. And that is no kudos to me. I'm just simply, with the notes that I have in front of me, have done some research, and I want to present a valid argument to those who are watching and listening. Apart from my own political bias, my own cultural bias, my own spiritual bias, to which I recognize them all, I try to present facts that everybody, regardless of what side of the aisle you may be on, whatever political affiliation, whatever religious group you may belong to, facts are facts, no matter if you're Baptist, Catholic, Episcopalian, or whatever. Black, white, or indifferent, it doesn't make a difference. Facts are facts. But in today's culture, we don't deal a lot with facts. To the young man, and you're getting ready to see a lot of stuff come out about this young man that plowed through this parade last week in Wisconsin. You're about to see a whole lot come out. Oh man, it's about to blow your mind. All of the pre-stuff that we knew before, none of that stuff is true. This was an intentional act and will be tried as domestic terrorism. Oh, you about to see some stuff come out about this one. This is going to peel your hat back. When six people died, 3 of them being kids, the youngest one being 8 years old. Think about an 8-year-old getting run over by a car intentionally, like bowling pins. Additional video has now come out. It's hard to watch. Oh, you're about to see some stuff come out about this. Now, to all of that stuff, when I always tell people, man, just wait before you make a judgment. Wait before you make a judgment. Let some of the facts come out. Let some of the data come out. Then once some data comes out, once some facts come out, then make whatever opinion that you may want to make. That's fine. But we're living in an age right now to where facts are put on the back burner. So when I tell you stuff like this, I want to give you this. From 1882 to 1968, 4,743 lynchings occurred in the United States. So from 1882 to 1968 being the last recorded lynching that we have, there were 4,743 lynchings in the United States of America. 4,743 of them. And this is according to the NAACP, the Equal Justice Initiative, extensive reporting on lynching. The highest number of lynchings during that time occurred in Mississippi, with 581 recorded, in Georgia, 531 recorded, and in Texas, 493. Those were the highest. So in Mississippi, we had 581 black people that were hung from trees, most of them being decapitated, some of them even being burned alive. Second was Georgia with 531. Third was Texas with 493. We're living in a time in the not so distant past where if you got a grandfather or a grandmother who is 70 plus years old, they grew up in Jim Crow South. They grew up white water fountain, black water fountain. If you talk to them, if you sit down at the feet of our elders and listen and glean some of this wisdom that they have to pour into this younger generation, man, you will be blessed beyond capacity. It's sitting at the feet of somebody that is much older than you and listening to the stories that they have to tell. So if you have anybody in your life that is 70 plus, go take them out to lunch, take them out to dinner, go over to their house and just sit down and listen and glean about some of the stuff that they will tell you. So in Georgia, led the nation in the second most lynchings with 531. In Georgia, deep South Georgia, with 531 lynchings. Just recently, last week, had a jury of 11 whites and 1 black convict 3 white men for murder at a time in that same state that it would have just been par for the course. Well, there would have literally been hundreds of people around snapping selfies while a black man, black woman hung from a tree. So when I try to tell people that, yes, does America still have warts? Does it still have some issues? Absolutely. But as my brother said, the Black Conservative, man, I suggest that you look at his, take a look at his YouTube channel, man. We are in agreement that have we reached the promised land of Martin Luther King when he said, we're going to get to the promised land? No, we're not there yet. But man, we are so much further down this road than where we started. And to not acknowledge that progress, that racial progress that has been made in America is not to be genuine. America does have a deep history of racial discord that runs through the veins of America. But here's what I've said many a times before. The power system is crumbling on itself because too many minorities, too many women, too many people of different religious assent are now getting into high political powers where the decisions are being made from the top all the way down. The power system cannot contain itself as it once did in 1882, in 1940, in 1950. The power system now is being infiltrated by the minorities that it at one time tried to keep out. And so now you have minorities, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, women, whoever it may be, LGBT, whatever it may be, that are sitting in high levels of influence, making decisions at high levels to at one point in time, they were not even allowed in those circles. And so as I say that, have we made it there yet? Are we at the place to where we can skip down the yellow brick road and sing Kumbaya? No. But are we so much better off than we were in 1960? Absolutely. So this whole idea that we in 2021 are facing the same travails as my grandmother, your grandmother did in 1940, 50, and 60 is ridiculous. We have made so much racial progress in America. And all you got to be is just a historian. All you got to do is just know how to read history. As I've said on this podcast many times before, America gets a lot of heat for slavery, but America in no way, shape, or form perfected slavery. Okay, nowhere, shape, or form perfected slavery. 17 million plus Africans who were stolen from the African continent. Less than 7% of those Africans came to the States. More than 40% of that 17 million that was stolen from Africa landed on the shores of Brazil and in Mexico and in Great Britain. The transatlantic slave trade. Okay, less than 7% of those 17 million slaves that were stolen from Africa actually came through or came to the Americas. They would wind up in Haiti, and in Cuba and make their way over to Louisiana, to which they would be dispersed all into the deep South, which is why the North never really suffered with slavery. The North never really had a slavery problem. As a matter of fact, you would see people from the South trying to escape to the North. The Underground Railroad, Harriet Tubman, where would they go? They wouldn't go to another southern state. They would go up north where slavery was illegal. So when you see America and the history of America, America was the last one into slavery and the first one out. So America in no way, shape, or form perfected slavery. In no way, shape, or form. Now, I've been to London many a times. Go to London. Go to England. If you want to see some racism, it's live and in your face in London right now. So when we talk about America, to which I live, to which I'm a citizen of, I freely look at the facts and the data that we have. Unfortunately, so many people in our past, our ancestors, our forefathers and foremothers long before us suffered great tragedy in trying to provide a way for us in this particular day and age to do better with the lives that God has given us. But everybody, we've made great racial progress in America. Great racial progress. And to not acknowledge that would be disingenuous. So I believe that the Ahmaud Arbery case was spot on to those men who got convicted of murder. In the Ahmaud Arbery case, I believe it was a correct and a just verdict, which will be upheld in any court of appeals. The two guys, Gregory McMichael and Travis McMichael, they don't have any plans on appealing. They know that an appeal would be futile at that point. But that was a victory, not just for Ahmaud Arbery and his family and his mother and his father and his aunts and all of those who are part of that family. To God be with them as they continue to travail through the loss of that family member. It was a victory for them. But it was also a victory for anybody that loves justice. For anybody that loves justice. If you love justice, then this was one that was a very, very appropriate outcome. So we are living in a time to where we need to take a step back and not be so emotionally engaged. I brought down, I'll get to this in a second. I won't get to that now. So what else do we have going on in this world? So now, oh Lord, have mercy. Is COVID ever gonna leave us? Can somebody help me out? Somebody help me out, because now we got the Omicron variant. Now, I want you to go back into a podcast that I did in July of this year. And here's what I said. We need to get used to COVID because it's never going away. It's going to be like the flu. You're just going to have to deal with it. I said that back in June, July, or sometime like that. Guess what Dr. Fauci, the leading virologist, the leading expert on COVID, just said 2 days ago? Dr. Fauci said the U.S. must prepare to deal inevitably with COVID because it will always be here. It's just going to be like strands of the flu. Now, the crazy part about this, regardless of what side of the fence that you may fall on, I want you to see a couple of things here. I found this to be very, very interesting. So on last week, President Joe Biden issued a travel ban on 8 African countries: Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. Okay, so President Joe Biden issued a travel ban on these 8 African countries last week because of the Omicron variant of the COVID-19 strand that was particularly found in these 8 countries. So he initiated a travel ban of these 8 African countries into the U.S. or people visiting those countries from the U.S. Interesting, because in February of 2020, President Donald Trump issued an African ban of 3 African countries because of the COVID-19 strand. Here's what Biden said about when Trump put a ban on 3 African countries. This is what he said on February the 1st, 2020. He tweeted this out. He said, Trump further diminished in the U.S. in the eyes of the world by expanding his travel ban. This new Africa ban is designed to make it harder for Black and brown people to immigrate to the United States. It is a disgrace, and we cannot allow him to do it. That is what President-elect at the time, or the nominee, President Biden, said at the time. Now, in 2020, the same African ban was called a disgrace and called racism. This is what I be talking about, everybody. This is when I tell you that you gotta be able to weed through this stuff. You cannot be loyal to any particular thing other than God. He just put a travel ban on 8 African countries: Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, because of the Omicron variant of the COVID-19 strand that came out of South Africa. So rightly so, because you're concerned with bringing this strand into America, you restrict travel from these particular countries, of people in these countries coming to the U.S. and people from our country going to those countries. You restrict it because you don't want to bring the strand back and forth. Logical. But again, on February the 1st, when Trump issued a 3 African country ban because of COVID-19, here's what Biden said about him: that Trump further diminished the U.S. in the eyes of the world by expanding the travel ban. This African ban is designed to make it harder for Black and brown people to immigrate into the United States of America. It is a disgrace, and it is racism at its finest. But now here we are. Now you have to institute a travel ban to Africa. Does the same thing apply when you have to institute that same travel ban? But it doesn't. Here's the hypocrisy that we're looking at. It's not, because now he's hailed as somebody that is protecting the American interests. When just a year ago, you said the same travel ban in the same continent of Africa, was racism against black and brown people that are trying to immigrate over here to the United States of America. And if you remember the news stories around this, there was Senate hearings, there was House of Representatives, people all on TV saying that, man, they're trying to stop black people from coming to America. But now we just restricted 8 African countries from coming to America. And I've been to 4 of these 8 countries. But why not say in the same breath? And again, the reason why I bring this up is because if you're not able to filter through this stuff and get to the meat and potatoes of what's going on, everybody, it's going to be difficult. We're living in this age of social media where everybody's got a voice, and people that shouldn't be heard have gotten thousands of followers and all of these views, and people listening to people who don't have the wherewithal to say the things that they're saying. I'm a firm believer that everybody should be heard, but not everybody should be listened to. Okay, be careful of those that you listen to. Well, be careful of what goes into your ear gate. Be careful, because what goes into your ear gate gets deposited into your heart. So when you're looking at the stuff and you got to filter through this, that's why I'm telling you, everybody, I know it's easier just to turn on the TV to whatever trusted news source that you get your information from and say, feed me news source. Feed me Fox News, feed me CNN, feed me MSNBC, feed me what you want me to know, feed me. Give me all the information based on your spin, give it to me. I understand that that's easier to plop down on your couch, get your remote, and get fed by people that you like. But in matters of importance, you have to steal away, turn the TV off, and do some research yourself. Now, if you come to the same conclusion that you were just fed, praise God. But there's a high likelihood that after you dig through the weeds, you won't come to that same conclusion. Will you be able to change anything? I don't know. As I shared with a young man last night, man, listen, I don't know if this stuff is making a difference. All I'm simply trying to do on the set of Studio B is trying to inject truth into a culture full of error. Truth that mainly comes from the word of God, of what God has said, but then truth of being able to disseminate information, not from what somebody told me, but from stuff that you can actually research for yourself. Because listen, all of us are being manipulated to some degree. All of us are being manipulated to some degree. Every time you turn on the TV, you're being manipulated by some TV show. Every time you look at a commercial, that commercial is trying to manipulate you or persuade you to buy their particular product. All of us are being manipulated to some degree. But some of us are being manipulated a whole lot more than others. If social media is the first place that you go to get your news, you're in a bad space. You're in a bad space, because unfortunately, we don't have non-biased news sources anymore. We just don't have them. It's a fact, y'all. Those days are gone. Everybody reports from their own bent. What you got to be able to do, what I got to be able to do, is dig through all of this stuff and say, here's truth. Now, watch this about truth. Truth will offend you, because truth will get in the way of your own bias. Truth will cause you to examine your own bias. Now, if you're faithful to truth and truth challenges your bias, then you will side on the side of truth and not on the side of your bias. When you're digging through and trying to figure out stuff, truth will present itself and challenge your thinking. Wow, it's not like I thought. then you have a choice on whether I will still lean to my own bias or will I acknowledge truth that has just shed light on my thinking. Truth is very dangerous, everybody. That's why everybody tries to avoid it. That's why you, me, and all of us lie to ourselves at some level. We all got a lie that we are regurgitating back to ourselves because the truth of the matter is it's too hard to digest. So all of us at some micro or macro level are telling a lie to ourselves because the lie is easier than the truth. And that's the conundrum that truth presents. It's unfiltered. It doesn't care whether you're black or white. It doesn't care if you're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't care whether you're Christian or not. Truth is truth. And unfortunately, we're living in a time right now where truth is being bent to everybody's benefit. And so I skew it just a little bit, just to make sure that I can get what I get out of it. I don't mind when we're talking. When we're talking about issues, man, let's talk about issues. But man, there are so many people out there right now that are scared to speak up about truth, a truth of what they know because of the backlash that will come against it. The backlash that'll come against it. I don't engage in conversations with people that I know can't reason in an Isaiah 1:9 type of way. When God says, "Come, let us reason together." Let's make a reasonable argument. When you get into conversations with emotional people, it quickly gets out of hand, and this is when friendships are fractured. This is when families become splintered. It's when all of the emotion injects itself into the conversation. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. You can't die on every mountain. You can't die on every mountain. When all of the family is around, maybe that's not the right time to talk about politics. Maybe that's not the right time to talk about this and talk about that. You got to be very careful. You got to choose your battles very wisely. Choose your battles very wisely. That's why God has put this tongue behind teeth and encapsulated it in jaws to make it very hard for this thing to move at free will. Be very, very careful about that because you can lose some friends, you can fracture some families. And at the end of the day, you've got to ask yourself, is that something that you want to do? I brought down something that I have. Well, this is a copy of it, but I brought down something that I have in my office. If you ever walk up into my office, I got a whole lot of stuff up in there that motivates me. My office is filled with a lot of feng shui. It's filled with a lot of positivity. So wherever I look, I can find some inspiration, whether that be, my family, pictures of my family, travels that I've done around the world, and sayings that I have all over my wall. Well, I bought this one right here, and it says success. Let me read to you what success is. Success is the predictable result of hard work, patience, sacrifice, and learning put into practice every day. That's success. I look at this every day. It's right there in front of my computer, so I have no choice but to look at it every single day when I sit down at my computer. That success is the predictable result of hard work, patience, and sacrifice, and learning put into practice every day. So as I sit down, I got to ask myself a question. Am I willing to work hard today? Am I willing to be patient for the result? Am I willing to sacrifice for what I want? And watch this, here's the hard one. Am I willing to learn something new every day? If I can do those four things, if I can put some hard work in, if I can be patient, if I can sacrifice, if I can learn, then the predictable result of that will be success. So I am the greatest gauge to my success. The work that I put in today is for the benefit of tomorrow. But we're living in this world of quick fixes. Success and quick fix don't go hand in hand. They don't go together. So the work that I'm putting in today, I'm praying will pay off tomorrow, right? And that's why I do what I do. So every single day, I got to put in hard work. I got to be patient. I got to sacrifice some things, and I got to learn in order to get the predictable result of success. Because if you talk to anybody successful, they didn't just wind up successful. They worked at it. Black, white, Indian, Asian, Hispanic, it doesn't make a difference, creed or color or religion. Talk to anybody successful. There was just recently a shakeup at the CEO of Twitter. Jack Dorsey just stepped down as CEO of Twitter. A young man of Indian descent is now the CEO of Twitter. Okay, hard work knows no creed, knows no race, knows no religion, knows no orientation. Hard work is universal. If you put in the work, the time, the effort, the energy, it will pay off. That's success. This is before me every single day. And so I tell my kids this, I tell everybody that's around me this. Listen, whatever you want, put it in your mind, visualize it, and then put forth a plan in order to put it together. That's what the hard work, patience, the sacrifice, the learning will do if you commit yourself to it. And so as I share with you these last words, if you want success, stop letting people tell you that you can't be successful. Stop letting people define you by their own limitations. Because they can't do something, because they didn't do something, does not mean you can't. And as long as you are breathing, you have the opportunity to do something. The greatest hurdle that you will ever have to cross in going after your particular dreams is going to be the first step in getting started. That is the biggest hurdle, everybody. The biggest hurdle that you're going to encounter in trying to get started trying to be successful is getting started. That's the biggest hurdle. That's the highest step that you got to climb. It's just getting started. It's just starting the process, right? The hardest thing about losing weight is the ability to change my mind that I need to lose weight or work out or to get healthier. The greatest thing about getting out of debt is the ability to decide to get out of debt, right? So the greatest struggle that anybody's going to have in order to chase success is the first step in it. So what is success for you, for me? It is the predictable result of hard work, patience, sacrifice, and learning put into practice every day. And I believe God wants us to be successful. You have to determine what that success looks like. Stop getting your cues of success from the TV, from the rappers, from the actresses and actors and stuff that you see on the movie screen. Stop taking your cues of success from people that you don't know. Your success, my success, looks differently. Not everybody's going to be a Fortune 500 CEO. Not everybody's going to own a business. Not everybody's going to be a millionaire, billionaire, or wealthy person. Not everybody's going to live in a 10-story house and have multiple cars in the garage. Not everybody's going to graduate college and go on to get a master's and a PhD and the like. Not everybody's going to do that. You have to determine what success looks like to you. You have to determine that. And then once you have figured out what success looks like to you, you must chase it with all of your heart, your mind, and your soul. I'm going to go out on the side of encouraging people. And as I encourage people, I encourage myself to be all that God has called for us to be. I know it's a very lofty statement. I get that. I get it's a very, very lofty statement that I can do what God has placed upon my heart to do. I understand that. I understand that eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, nor has entered into the heart of men the wonderful things that God has planned for those who love him. That I know the plans that I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, plans of a future and a hope. God has all these wonderful plans for you, that I've come to give you life and give you life more abundantly. I've come to do this for you. I've come to take your life from the natural to the supernatural, to experience things in your life that otherwise you would have never done. Everybody, you can do it. And just as a moment of encouragement, as we're coming down and winding down in 2021, 12 months have come and gone. An entire year has come and gone. 2022, should God spare our lives, is just a couple of weeks away. And as you look at 2021, what have you accomplished in 2021? What goals have you checked off of the list? What have you done? What did you get started? How are you better at the end of this year than you were at the beginning of this year? What progress have you made in life? And unfortunately, so many people can't answer that question because they get caught in the cycle of life. They wake up, they go to work, they come home, they shower, they eat, they go to bed, and then they just push the repeat button 7 days out of the week. And their life is not filled with any type of excitement, any type of joy, because they're not doing anything new. They're not pushing the boundaries. They're not stretching themselves. So many people will end this year the exact same way that they started. They haven't grown intellectually. They haven't grown emotionally. They haven't grown spiritually. Nothing has changed over 12 months. And here's what I want to encourage you about. If that's you, and as this year comes to an end, you got to take some time to focus on what God wants to do in your life and then ask God how to accomplish that. God has a plan for you that far supersedes anything that you can imagine on your own. I am a living witness to this. I am a living witness that God will transform your life. That God will do things in your life that you would have never thought possible. God will allow you platforms to speak by which you should have never been a part of. But as God deposits that vision on the inside of you, it is up to you then to work the vision. Once God has given you a glimpse of what he wants you to do, you then must put in the necessary work in order to bring it to pass. Because yes, God will give you the vision, but God's not going to work your vision. You have to work that vision. So whatever God has called for you to do, you have to put in the work. Faith and work must intersect. Faith and work must intersect in order for the vision to come to pass. You, my friends, have got to do some work. So as we come to a close, I pray that you are being an agent of God to get out there and do some work. Let's be a bridge instead of blowing up bridges. Let's connect people together with like-mindedness as opposed to speaking the same rhetoric of division. Let's bring people to the table and talk about how we can get better as people, how we can love each other better, as opposed to exploiting all of the differences that we all have. Let's be an agent of change. Let's be the ones that unite as opposed to the ones who divide. Maybe a little bit too Martin Luther King-ish, I get it. Maybe a little bit too much of that. However, I believe that's what God wants us to do. So as you getting ready to end this year, we got some things coming up in these next couple of podcasts that I pray will bless you. We're going to talk about some things that I believe are important, that you have told me are important, And we're going to talk about how to leave 21 and enter into 22 being better than we were in 21. So everybody, I want you to be encouraged. I want you to trust God and believe that God is working in and through us, because he is. Today is a good day to be alive. You can do more than what you think you can do. So I want to leave you with this quote. The function of a man is not to live, is to live, not to exist. The function of a man is to live, not to exist. I will not waste my days trying to prolong my life. I shall use my time. The function of man is to live, not just to exist. I will not waste my days trying to prolong my time. I shall use my time. Let's use our time and use it wisely. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on the set of Studio B. Listen, I need your help. I need you to, if you're watching on YouTube, I need you to click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the little bell to the right so that you'll be notified every time a new episode drops. But I also need you to comment. I need you to comment, good, bad, or indifferent. Comment. Positivity, comment, criticism, whatever you want to do, comment right there in the box. We don't turn my comments off like a lot of people do on their channels. We can handle the criticism, but I need you to comment if you're watching us on YouTube right now. Same way on Facebook or Instagram or on Twitter. So everybody, thank you again for joining us here on the set of Studio B. It's been a year and a half since we started doing this podcast, and God has been richly kind to us. We have recently just passed over 8,000 subscribers, on our way to 10,000. We need your help in that endeavor. We need you to share this podcast, like this podcast, subscribe to this podcast so that you can help us get the word out in a more expeditious manner. To use the right Reverend Joe Clark and lean on me. God bless you, everybody. May God be with you. May God bless you. May God keep you is our prayer. Until the next time.